Up at the crack of dawn once again. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Plenty to talk about today as Bitcoin did have a massive girthy red dildo party being started yesterday right after the stream. Well, a little bit right after the stream. And so that's going to lead into a lot of new things today. Of course, Bitcoin taking out that $11,750 pivot was the whole harbinger of despair and destruction for that whole move. And holy shit, man, I need to say, before we even get into this, I was absolutely fucking blown away by the amount of love and just well wishes that I received yesterday for my birthday. That was I don't really have the words to express at least as accurately as I want to, how much that means to me. And I want to say a massive thank you. It goes without saying, a humongous thank you from me to you. And hopefully I can do my best to express the gratitude that I have for that. That was incredible. And holy shit, I can't say thank you enough. That was unbelievable. And hopefully I can come up with better words over time. Just understand that my, I'm just a little bit embarrassed maybe. And anyways, looking at the Krown Chain application over here, which can be found at app.krownchain.net, we got plenty to see as Bitcoin dominance headed down another 0.5% to 56 even. We also see fear and greed index coming down 4 points from 83 to 79, and also the open interest coming down on that whole move as well, which does call into question the efficacy of it. So typically speaking, when we do see open interest move in the same side of, or sorry, if we see open interest moving up on this with price action going in a certain direction, that typically does align with that being a more trustworthy move, so to speak. It means that people are adding positions into that direction. Whereas in this scenario right here, we actually saw open interest come down about 100 million from yesterday to today, from a little bit over 2.5 billion to now 2.45 billion, which would suggest, as price action does come down, that we're probably still playing out a greater range on the long term, which was more or less unchanged. We have still not broken 11,000. We've still not broken 12,000, as we've been saying for like the last, I guess, over a month now as well. So with that in mind, remember that that overall, until that range is broken, I don't really have any major things to be said about the long-term timeframes. It's all about the short and medium-term timeframes right now, and of which yesterday we had basically almost $1,000 move. So that's going to be the big focus of today. So let's actually go into the price action charts right now and say, what do we got? Oh yes, this is what I wanted to start off with today. This is the weekly right here, of course, and what's most important about this is that even with yesterday's big bad dump, we did not take out the prior week's low. And the reason why that is important right here is because it would drive a very easy and very and likely very quick trade as well. As if we do start to break this structure and take out last week's low, I would look for a nice quick move down to that 10 simple moving average, which is currently hovering around 10,700-ish region. So if that condition is met, I actually would target a move down there, and that probably would be the next big red flag that Bitcoin is going to be heading down, not just below 11,000, but probably below 10,000. Of course, right now that's well and far away, and I want to be very specific in the way that I relate these ideas right now, because overall, the long term, I don't change my opinion on the long term until $11,000 is broken. That is the main criteria, and preferably on a 12-hour or daily. If I'm going to be using a lower term time frame like a 4-hour, then maybe more like 10,900. But see, with this move, if that condition were to be met, which is only 11,101, then very likely it would have a chance to do such things, and I would actually target a move down to 10.7 regardless of that. Very likely a bounce imply within that region anyways, but overall I want to see where things close on the 12-hour and daily. Okay, so with that said, let's go back on over here and let's go into the lower term timeframes and talk about what happened yesterday for a second. As Bitcoin broke the blue box right here on a nice 4-hour below 11,750, that initiated that next move down, as we said, down to about 11,300. Yes, yesterday I was looking for a bounce off 1,100 or 11,700. Going to be wrong about that, obviously, and that's why these areas are the way that they are. So in this region right here, I don't really have too much to add that you probably don't already know about this. With this blue box down here, I do think that we're probably going to test it a couple more times, 11,300-ish region. But as long as it does not break, I would be looking for Bitcoin to try to attempt to set in a higher low on the daily in comparison to what we saw right in over here in the 25th and 26th of August. And then I would be using about 11,550, wherever the 21 exponential moving average is right here, to kind of govern where we are within the short and medium term timeframes. As long as Bitcoin's below it, technically pressure on to the downside, and bears do have their chance right now. And this is a legitimate, issue right here for Bitcoin Bulas. If they do fail to regain that area, probably in the next like week or so, things will naturally start to ebb onto the downside. But for now, as long as we're playing within this region, I do look for things to kind of grind out a few more times at that 11,300 to 11,250 blue box, and then likely give another try back up to 11,005. If 11,500 rejects again, well, same thing essentially. But if it can retake this area, especially on a 4-hour dildo closure, and let's make it exact where I want it to be. Let me see what it is on the daily. Yeah, it is quite literally about 11,550 right now. If we could get a 4-hour closure above there, I would look for Bitcoin to once again play between the 11,550 and 11,700 region, and overall that would look more or less healthy, getting above the median of the range right now. Here's also a major thing that I want to be focusing on today. Or actually, before I get into that, let's go talk about the reverse Stochastic indicator cross. So this baby right here is suggesting also that 11,300 is actually a very big area, especially for the daily to close above. In fact, it's actually a little bit higher than that, 11,381. And if Bitcoin does close a daily dildo below there, not only will it be essentially fucking around with this 11,300-ish area that we spoke about on the lower term timeframes, but also it'd be turning daily momentum down. And at that point, I would very likely be looking for a test all the way back down once again to the bottom side of the long-term range, pretty much in line with the 55 exponential moving average, which you can see is starting to crawl up into the blue box territory right here. Just above 11,000 right now. So I think it's technically speaking about 11,050, but that would obviously also include a takeout of last week's low below 11,100. So all these things do play together, of course, and it would then, very likely line up for a small bounce there, but overall I would look for that next continuation drive to the weekly target. So this is, again, why it's very important to differentiate between the short-term timeframes, the medium timeframes, and the high and the macro timeframes. But speaking of the short-term timeframes right now, while we are here, let's see how things are operating. And yes, the 4-hour Stokes will remain to the downside as long as we are below 11,440. The reason why that is relevant is because it's allowing Bitcoin, or it's allowing the lower term timeframes to kind of sort themselves out here. I believe that we do have a trend line forming. Do we have a trend line forming? Let's see, all the way over here. Yeah, we are kind of testing into that region relatively soon. So actually later today we will test that region, and if that continues to hold, especially 11,300, I would look for it to start to at least put in another rally back up to about 11,500ish region. And if Bitcoin can obviously close above 11,450, then I would look for I would look for extension, very likely up to right around here. Same daily target essentially as well, 11,550ish region. Now, obviously, that's a very short-term move, but it can have greater, far-reaching implications if Bitcoin gets back above here. I'd very likely extend that run another $200 back up to the same territory that I was looking for Bitcoin to bounce off of yesterday, 11,700ish region. So all these things play together right here, and I imagine that all the very low-term timeframes are going to probably have a very similar interplay. So looking at the 3-hour, it's actually already below price action, so 3-hour momentum will turn back up to the upside as long as we're closing above 11,300ish region, and that closure is coming in 1 hour 44 minutes and 57 seconds. So keep an eye out for that one. That very likely does beget another test back up to 11.5 at the very least. And if Bitcoin does close above there, especially on a 2-hour or 4-hour, I would extend those targets, like I said, to about 11.7ish, 11.750. Bi-hourly, what do we see right here? Same thing. Below price action right now will remain to the upside as long as Bitcoin's closing 2-hour dildos above 11,350, and hourly showing 11,336. Although the hourly does look a little bit nasty there too. So overall, if I did have to call this right now, I do believe that the lower term timeframes likely do swipe back down towards 11,300, maybe 11,250, but I don't think that it breaks it today. A little bit more likely to bounce right there again, play out a little bit sideways, and then give a test to the upside. And then we want to see how Bitcoin does at 11,500ish region. If it can retake that area, I would extend things another $250 to 11,750, and that would still keep the overall long-term analysis still in the same direction. I really have nothing to add there as far as the weekly, monthly, and bi-monthly go. I'm bullish on those as long as Bitcoin's essentially above 11,000 on 12-hour and daily closures. And below there, yes, that all goes away, or mostly goes away, yes. But when we're talking about $1,000 range between 11,000 and 12,000, it's very easy to get lost in the minutia. But overall, the higher term timeframes have been very much unchanged and actually solidify themselves, with closures just as recently as like 3 days ago for this new month for both the monthly and bi-monthly, which we can very briefly briefly go over right here. I don't want to get into too into detail on this today, because I think we went a little bit more into detail on it over the weekend. But looking at this right here, monthly did have a nice little backfill into August open, and I would be looking at that probably as an opportunity. Looking at this chart in its whole entirety, this is obviously a continuation of uptrend. We do see lows right here, highs right here, higher low right here, closing on new highs. That has to be continuation by definition. Momentum oscillators are also on the same side as well. We do see monthly Stokes back up into the bullish control zone for the first time since April of 2018, by the way, and that was when it was coming down. Let me remind you, the last time that actually entered into that region, was March 2016 right here. And let me show you exactly where that was on price action. So where's March? Where the fuck is March? Yeah, there it is. Found it. All right. So March was right here after Bitcoin had already bucked the long-term trend, put in its major lows, popped up, made it back to this level right here. And then the real momentous rally came up, when it actually made new all-time highs and then, continued to new all-time highs for the next few years, really. So looking at this right here, we do have a very similar read, also a monthly jewel, giving you a hot or long signal all the way back towards May of this year. And, these things do take some time to play out, but so far, so good. Going all the way from about 6,600 to about 12,000 where we are right now. And monthly RSI is still looking constructive to me as well. I don't have any major issues with this. Does it come back down to test around the exponential on it? Perhaps yes, but overall, I would be looking for that to have more long-term upside. Again, not to be confused with the very low-term time frames right now. It's kind of the same thing as yesterday. Very, 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 very short term. Yeah, do you think that we spiked the lows once again? Medium term, probably bounce off those regions. Long term, I mean, it's unchanged here as it is right now. And of course, the bi-monthly for further reference too, same sorts of things, except just as September ticked to the 1st of September, we do get our new bi-monthly dildo right here, which gets set in at a new the second highest closure that it's ever had in Bitcoin's history. And looking at this interplay right here, it could very easily be that we do have another test back down to like 11,000. Looking at that. But overall, I'd look at that as an opportunity as long-term. We have a low right here, high right here, low right here, closed on new highs. What does that mean? Continuation as well. And because it is bi-monthly, probably takes, half a year to a year to play out. But overall, momentum oscillators agree. Bi-monthly Stokes up, bi-monthly RSI, looking for another stint into the bullish control zone if it can close this next one above 12,000, obviously coming in 2 months. So realistically, can Bitcoin turn down from this area? Yeah, absolutely it can. But I would be a little bit cautious on that until those certain criteria are met. And looking at the bi-monthly right here, if Bitcoin were to turn down and really initiate those next moves below 11,000, then I do think things would very likely come back down and test somewhere around 9,500, we'll call it. So we are talking about a $1,500 move if that condition is met. By the same token, to the upside, I generally just look for things to float to the upside on the long term here. It's all about the short term actually right now to kind of judge, the lows and the local highs, the local lows and the local highs. Anyways, let's go over and check out something else, which I think is actually going to take a little bit more of a precedence today as well, and that's Mr. Butyrol. So Mr. Butyrol, we said yesterday, was likely to pull back as well. This one pulled back a lot more than what I suggested. I believe I said 440 to 450. We get a wick down all the way to 420ish region. Great number. But actually, we did close at 440, so maybe not all that bad. But overall, on this one right here, I would still be using this 440 pivot as a nice kind of short-term interplay, which has implications for the long-term, or sorry, maybe not the long-term, but the daily as well. What I mean by that is using this guy right here. As long as we're above it, I actually do look for this one to test to the upside, maybe even all the way back up to the big bad dump that we started from yesterday at 465 region. As long as it's above this area right here, I don't have any major issues with it. Below 440 on a 4-hour dildo closure, I would look for another swipe of the lows of yesterday, 420 to 425 region, and very likely a bounce there once again. For what it's worth right now, this is a higher low in progress. Now, it's a very aggressive one, and it's a very violent dump as well, similar to Bitcoin. But looking at this right here, we do have hidden bullish divergence in play on the 4-hour between this point and this point, and I'm curious how high of a time frame that goes up to. But for reference, that goes all the way back on over here. Shit, it goes even all the way back on over here. I mean, this is like pretty fucking aggressive. So we're talking about this low, and this low. Three, the typical 3 drives right there. And then, of course, making a much lower low on 4-hour RSI right here. I do happen to think that this one actually does pop back up, probably towards 460-ish region, maybe 465. If it can regain 465, or sorry, what exactly is this area? Yeah, but 465 on a 4-hour closure, I would look for a retest of 480, maybe even 490. But for right now, I actually do think that Mr. Buterol is the easier chart to be read. And if things do come back down, yeah, for 420-ish regions where I'd be looking towards. Probably raise this up a little bit as well, no problem. And you can see that the 10 simple and the 21 are right around there as well. But call me crazy. I actually do think that I do think that things get picked up from here after Bitcoin's downside yesterday and pretty much the whole market, of course. So going back into it, or actually, let me check out the 12-hour first. How does this one look? Yeah, nice, nice buy up on that 12-hour. Do we have any sort of divergences here to be spoken about? No, not really. I'm curious how high of a time frame that hidden bullish divergence pops up to, though. Do we have it on a 6-hour? We do have it on a 6-hour between this point and this point. Nice. Although you could say that a good amount of that move's already played out. We did get a move all the way back up to 450 after all, didn't we? What about an 8-hour? Is it present there? Yes, it is between this point and this point. Same areas. Can kind of make the same interplay there too. Although I would say probably more like 460 is about right. What about a 10-hour? Do we have a similar thing right here too? Yes, we do. 1, 2, boom. Yeah, one, 2 drives, not 3 drives that we see on the 4-hour, but not on the 12-hour. Yeah, interesting. Overall, though, I do have pretty much the same thing to say on those. As long as it maintains those levels, I actually do think that it pops back up here for a very violent shakeout move and looking good after that. Or perhaps as long as it holds those levels, of course. Let's go look at CME, see if there's anything obvious here too. And again, actually CME is closing a little bit more nasty. In fact, 12-hour Stokes are about to turn down at the same time. Not good at all. So if there is one thing that is making me immediately bearish or making me want to err on the side of the barrows right here, it is the 12-hour, of course. And we don't have any divergences here to be spoken about just yet. So this one, this one is the one for the barrows right here, actually, if anything. What about the daily? Same areas essentially implied, 11,550 as that nice point. So we also do see daily Stokes turn into the downside right here as well. They will officially turn to the downside with any sort of a closure below 11,450 essentially. So keep those levels in mind for today's daily. And I can really synthesize pretty much my whole thoughts down into this like one sentence right here. Very, very short term, probably does ground out the lows once again, 11.3, 11.250, something like that. I would be looking for a bounce there once again. However, all of the criticalness, all of the pretty much everything that I'm looking at right here comes down to the daily. If the daily fails to close above on CME's 11,450 or on Bitcoin spot price action 11,350, we'll call it, then I would be looking for some extended downside, probably all the way down to that $11,000 low. With bounces implied along the way at the areas that we spoke about earlier. If Bitcoin can close above these areas, I would be looking for it to trade a little bit sideways and probably does put in a rally after that. But for right now, pressure is onto the downside. And if barrows do want to take control, this is their chance right here, right now, to revert this whole thing back down, get it back down below 11,000, and then can have greater implications, much more far-reaching implications for greater downside after that. But for right now, that would be, I'd be a little bit cautious here, waiting more so for the daily and also the weekly on CMEs, which closes tomorrow as well. And kind of a nasty weekly as it is right now. Anything below 12,200 is long-term problematic. We are going to see 12-hour Stokes, or sorry, not 12-hour, but weekly Stokes turn to the downside from a very critical range up here. Holy shit, man. Yeah, that's not going to be good. Weekly RSI is still constructive, yes, but it would imply some downside back down to the exponential if that were to happen. Any sort of a closure below 11,700 on CMEs once again. So we'll take a look at that one tomorrow. Obviously today it's like, it's still a day away or a day and a half away, I guess. But for right now, all of the things are starting to set themselves into place. Higher term time frames still more or less the same ranges. Lower term time frames now really putting a big significance on 11,550-ish region essentially, which is basically where all these major moving averages come in on the daily, like the 10 simple and the 21 exponential moving average right here. Also, if we were to look at the 20 simple, Where's my secondary chart? On the 200 bands, it'd be coming in right there as well on a daily, not a weekly. There we go. Yeah, actually a little bit higher than that. Oh shit, way higher than that. 11,700. Yeah, that definitely does air this, air the probabilities on the side of the downside here again. 200 bands do suggest some more downside here. Yes. Failing that level yesterday was absolutely critical. That's why I had 11,750 marked off and put a lot of importance on it. Yeah, this would actually imply that we do retest those lows once again, somewhere around 11,250. Do we break it or not? If we do close any sort of a daily below 11,200, I'd feel very confident with calling a lot, or at least a good amount of extension to the downside, at the very least to that 10.7 target, and probably beyond, very, very likely beyond, especially if a daily closes below 10.9, we'll call it. So damn, man, things really can turn away right here. Did forget to mention one thing on the monthly as well. The accumulation distribution indicator as well, which actually did maintain its positive slope. The slope of this indicator has been pretty consistent over the history of Bitcoin, with getting just about all of the macro moves. Anytime that we've had a slope change on this, it has marked off major highs and major lows. For example, this low right here in June 2015, August and September 2015, this more recent one right here in January 2019, and then again right here in May of 2020 right here. It did get all those were the slope changes coming alongside this trend line, which I probably have drawn in. Yeah, I do. Okay, nice. To the downside, same sort of things implied on a lot of these major highs. Of note right here, wait, where is this one? Yeah, this one right here, which was actually like the most muted response of those whole ones, but still a 44% move to the downside nonetheless. And then of course this one right here, all the way from 10,000 12,000 all the way down to 3,100, and then more recently at this $10,000 high before going down to 4,000 as well. So that does remain to the upside, and if that does remain to the upside through the month of August, then that would suggest that this whole formation right here, which was better seen maybe on a daily, this whole thing right here is to be considered as reaccumulation, as we do see the slope remain to the upside. So I'm very hesitant to really get onto one major side right here. The long-term time frames say more or less the same things. We haven't seen a break for the range. The short and medium-term time frames are starting to favor the downside a little bit more. But I really want to see, or at least for the Bitcoin BULAs, if I do want to get medium-term bullish once again, do need to see 11,500 taken relatively soon on a daily closure specifically. Okay, what else we want to talk about? Shit, I forgot to talk about this. God damn it, man. All my programs are on sale for my birthday for the next, I guess less than a week because it started yesterday. So there you go. Jesus Christ, man. Need to make a note of this. But overall, all the programs are on sale. No code is needed. I always do want to say, watch the videos that accompany them. They're going to do the best job of explaining who they're for, who they're not for, what's included, so you have a very direct idea of what it is and what you're getting yourself into. But before you even watch any of those things, I do think it's really important for me to say, in order to get the most out of it, you need to have a lot of time available to you. And what that means is, or what I mean by that is that these two programs specifically, the Art and Application of TA and the Master Your Options program, these are 30 to 40 hour plus long programs, and very likely you're going to want to watch them multiple times, preferably over the course of a few years. And that means that it's going to, one, take that time to first get through it, and then two, it's going to take concerted effort to come back to it and reference the topics as you gain more and more knowledge. I would even go as far as saying that I would not expect any real results, in the way that people probably want them. At least what we typically see is people start to get like actual results around a year to a year and a half. Yes, some people get there sooner, and fucking credit to them. I mean, it's really, 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 really impressive when people make it like between 3 and 5 months. It does happen, yes. Some people take longer. Some people never get there. Some people do never get there. So there is a legitimate possibility of failure. These are not magic pills. They are supplements in a way, which is going to require a shit ton of work on your own behalf. I will always be the one telling you that, if you want to become a trader, it's hard as fuck. It's very, very difficult. It's probably one of the hardest things that I've ever learned to do in my life, but it can be done. And the way that it can be done, from what I've seen amongst many different people, is a lot of concerted effort over a long period of time with the right information. And so that is how you can make that work. But again, it is going to require a lot on your own behalf. I'm talking like daily looking at the videos, daily watching the videos in the program, practicing on a daily basis, or whatever's relevant to you. And then keeping a dedicated trade journal. Those sorts of things are very, 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 very imperative. And if you're not willing to do that, then do not get into these programs, because it is not going to help you. The Neophytes program over here, this one's much more suited for beginners. It's also at a much more cost-efficient price. And if you are on the fence, this is probably the better one to go with, because it's very much beginner focus. Which also makes me want to say that if you've been watching these videos for like 3, 4, 5 months by now, this program is probably underneath your level. You don't need this. It would be you likely know everything that's already in this program. This is like a hand-holding program, but it does give you a discount on the other programs anyways. So if you are on the fence and you are relatively new, then there's no like harm in getting that if you were going to think about getting these anyways, because well, the price would be about the same anyways. Also have PineScript Mastery for anyone who wants to learn from the man himself, Mr. Mournful, on how to code your own indicators. And we also got our partners over here, Jackie, newly anointed onto our site as well. He's really great. He knows his stuff when it comes to psychology. We have a couple of videos together which you can reference if you want to get to know him. He also has his own video right here, which kind of explains his own program in his own words, and then of course a nice description over here as well. So I would keep an eye on that, or I would definitely reference that. And if you are feeling yourself more in like a psychological level, or you feel like you know technical analysis, but for whatever reason the trading just is not working, that actually his program actually has helped a lot of people that I can verify myself, which is all that I care about. I only care about results at that moment. So Jackie's good, and I can vouch for him. Okay, cool. Back onto the analysis over here, and stop shilling myself. And how much time do we have? Oh Jesus, man, it's already 26 minutes into this bitch. Okay, let's go around the world markets. Euro dollar coming down hard, so it looks like we actually are going to set in a major high right here. At least for right now. I probably would be looking for a bounce off of like 118 region short term, but overall weekly closing like this coming into Friday, I would still be holding with what I've been saying over the last month now, that I think that we grind out this area for a little bit of time and then probably play out some down. Then again, when I look at the monthly, I do get a little bit skeptical on what I just said right there. But hey, one of my rules is that coming into a major moving average like this, especially on a monthly time frame, usually I'm going to go with the former trend, and in this case that would be to the downside. So monthly still angled to the downside. I do think that we play a slight amount more, maybe like to 179 to 118 region. I'd be looking for a short-term bounce there, and if we do get a daily closure, especially anywhere below 117 and a half, anywhere below here, basically your last higher low right here, I would be extending moves all the way back down, medium term to 117. It's actually, you probably already have this in. I'm talking about this area right here. If this area breaks right here, and then long term, I'd probably be looking at this as still likely to put in a major high right here. But still, obviously way too early to call it right now. Except for the very low term time frames, I'd be keeping an intentful eye on the weekly closure coming into tomorrow as well. Anything here or lower looks good still for a major high being set in here, and over the next like 3-4 months, maybe heading back down to like 115 and probably beyond there as well. And of course, the same thing to imply to the upside. If it does overtake this region, especially above 119 and a half on a weekly closure, I would change around that idea. I would target a move back up to 121 and very likely beyond after that towards 1.25. So a very massive move there implied. Okay, what else do we have? Oh yeah, let's go check out traditional markets. Did we hit our long-term target on NASDAQ? Holy shit. Oh my God, we did. Yeah, there it is, 12,438 and 3/4, and I think I had 12,450 and 1/4 marked off. I do think that we played a pullback from here, but is this going to be another buy the dip opportunity? At this point in this asset, I mean, shit, we're hitting a target there that we had set in for a couple months prior, going all the way back here towards July of this year. Right now, with the weekly close looming overhead, I want to see how this one closes first. Any sort of a close here or higher, and I would look for new all-time highs coming into next week. But here's the thing, we're hitting targets that we've had laid out for like 2, maybe even 3 months. These were like very aggressive targets to begin with. So what I'd really be doing right now is I'd just be saying, hey, I don't think right now is the time to be aggressive. Maybe a short-term move back down to like 12,350, but realistically, I want to see how the weekly closes and then decide from there if I'd be looking for new all-time highs coming into next week or not. But tentatively speaking, any close above about 12,250, I'd be looking for new all-time highs coming into next week. Any close below there could call into question this rally, but for right now, direction is still up. And as I've been saying, when you do get into the last breaths of a parabolic blow off top, which this looks like it is putting in, there's one thing that I've learned is do not guess where the top is. And as of right now, we still have no bearish divergence present. Could it formulate itself? Yes, it could. In fact, it wouldn't be so far off to be looking for maybe some slight amount being printed right here in line with this trend line, and then we'd have 1, 2, 3 stabs to be fair. And actually, you could maybe even extend this all the way back on over here now, couldn't you? Yeah, something like this. So would also imply a little bit of up still first, but overall potentially a time to be looking for at least a medium term high. But still, I want to see the weekly closure. I would actually be looking for new all-time highs into next week with no specific target implied if we close, especially above 12,250 coming into tomorrow. So for right now, I don't really have anything to say about it. E-mini futures for SPYs, what do we have? Same sort of thing here as well, except this one I think has more. Yeah, this one's going to very likely print new all-time highs today. Jesus Christ, man, that is so fucking crazy to say. But overall, this one's still good. We do have a long-term target here. Where is it? Sir, where are you? At the 1.272 fib extension at 3,700ish region. I do believe that this was in line with one of the projections on the expected moves, which, by the way, also Bali selling not his programs, but his indicators now as well. So the expected moves, the reverse stoic indicator cross, and in the momentum oscillators that he constructed with pigs. The link's in the description below, and there's also a nice code there as well. So take advantage of that if you want to support his work, or if you just want to test him out. There is a 7-day free trial. Okay, cool. Jeez, I'm all over the place today. Massive apologies for that. But yeah, long term, I do happen to think 3,700 does get hit on this one. Short term, it's bullish. Medium term, it's bullish. Long term, it's bullish. It's bullish. You might even say it's bullish. Yeah, monthly still looking good as well. And again, for reference on the monthly, we closed on new all-time highs coming into September. We're just seeing continuation here. This is why we focus on the higher term timeframes a lot of the time. I mean, here's NAS futures, for example, as well. It's like rather aggressive, but fair enough. Pretty damn good. Let's go take a look at Tesla. I think yesterday we were looking for a pullback coming into this one, and nice. Finally got the pullback. Damn, that was a fucking aggressive pullback though. Jesus Christ. Yeah, in line with Bitcoin too. God damn. What do I have to say about this now? I'd probably be looking for this one to play out a short-term bounce. I'm not so sold on this one continuing on to new all-time highs. I do happen to think that it probably has topped out here at about $500 after the stock split. But short-term, I would be looking for a bounce to bring it back up towards like 460, 465 region. Yes, somewhere between there, 460 and 465. But again, same thing here. I want to see the weekly closure, any sort of a weekly close here or lower, any sort of a weekly closure below 450. And I do think that we probably have seen the highs on this one, at least for a long time. We would also have potential major bearish divergence being printed in between this point and this point. Yes, there is no local high confirmed just yet, but it is potentially in play, especially if we close like this coming into tomorrow. So again, the big focus right now is on the weekly closures for traditional markets. Microsoft, same thing, did hit up to not same thing, but did hit up to our 233 target right here, in line with the 2-spot fib extension, also in line with this measure move coming out of this formation right here. Do I think that it continues upwards and onwards? Probably yes. The weekly is looking very strong right here. Next target in line would be about 240-ish region. We'll call it at the 2-spot 414 extension. Looking more or less good here, especially if today's daily total closes above 323, I would be looking for that next set of targets to be hit again around 240-ish region. What else do we want to check out? All right, maybe no Apple today. We don't need to look at that. Already looked at Eurodollar, already looked at Buterol. Do we want to go across world markets? Maybe not. I want to keep this video somewhat shorter. Nifty 50, what are they doing? What are they doing? I did say yesterday that I'd be looking for this one to pop back up towards 11,700. I think that move is in progress right now, currently trading at 11,550. I'd still kind of hold on to that. Any sort of a daily closure above 11,720 and it extend targets all the way up here towards about 12,000. What else do we have in this world right now? What about Lynx? How's Lynx doing during all of this nonsense? Are we losing formation right here? Are we about to breach, and are we about to head back down to 109,000 Satoshis? Maybe yes, actually. Maybe yes. Any sort of a daily closure today. This one's very, very important, especially for the Link Marines out there. Any sort of a daily closure, that means today, below 100, what is this, 132,000 Satoshis, I actually would be looking for very likely a move somewhere down between 115,000 Satoshis, maybe even all the way down to 109,000 Satoshis. Probably does come alongside of a Bitcoin move back down to below 11,000 as well, if that were to happen. So keep that in mind. I'm curious what the US dollar valuation would look like as well. Let's see what we got on over here. Whoops, wrong one. Well, we can look at this one too. Same sort of areas implied, 15 and a quarter. Any sort of a daily closure below there, I would be looking for another move back down towards $13. Daily Stokes would be turning down at the same time if that were to happen, and also rejecting getting out of the bearish control zone. Daily Jewel is in a sell posture. This would be a continuation to hodl your shorts. If you, well, we didn't really get like an obvious short signal over here, so I guess it would just be a hodl, or don't be long signal. Interesting though on the 12 hour. The 12 hour does not suggest the same thing. So 12 hour actually does look like it probably puts in a low here. Very interesting. So you know what? I'd still stick onto this area. If it can close above 15 and a quarter, we'll call it. I would be looking for it to pop back up over the next few days, probably back up to $16.50 and maybe beyond. But these areas must hold by end of day. Otherwise I would be looking for the next leg down. Yeah, 12 and a half. It looks like on the daily against the dollar. Yeah, 12 and a half, somewhere down around here. Yeah. Okay, very interesting, very interesting. And same sort of daily sell signal here too. Not super obvious. I typically don't take these ones, but I do, if I do see a signal like that on an asset, I will not play it long. And in this case, with it kind of like breaking below the 21 at the same time, I probably do think that it comes down here. Yeah. The only thing that makes me think otherwise is the 12 hour and maybe the lower term time frames as well. Let's see if there's anything obvious here. Does look like it wants to swipe these lows once again, regardless at $14. Probably does try another bounce there though. Do we have any bullish divergence to be formed? No, actually not. A little bit scary there, huh? A little bit scary. Okay, do we want to look at anything else? Let's look at this fucking urine thing again. I'm having fun with this thing. It's all sorts of weird, but it trades. It's gonna pop back up here. I think we did say yesterday we'd be looking for it to pop back up towards this region at about 2.8. I'd actually extend this move a little bit longer towards $3. Or sorry, not $3, but three, literally three, because it's versus Satoshis. Daily's a hammer. Daily's popping back up to 3. Jesus Christ, man. So that's 3x the price of Bitcoin. So that's like $3,300, or sorry, not 3,300, but 33,000. God damn. I don't know what the fuck this thing is, man, but I'd actually be bullish on it, believe it or not. What about Dixie today? Yeah, Dixie is another big one that we should be watching as well. So Dixie is trying to put in a rally right here. Now keep in mind, it is still holding the downtrend, and as long as it's playing below the daily 21, which is this yellow moving average right here, technically speaking, it is still in the process of trending to the downside, and I do think that it could still have another major leg to the downside, being the 200 exponential moving average, which we had a target in like way back on over here in May, June of this year. Could you argue that we've already hit it? Yes, you could. You could very easily argue that we've already hit it. Although I would allow for very, very, very nice of me to do. Just like, Jesus, fuck you, Krown. Shut up, Krown, you idiot. There's my other personality once again. Headed back down to this region right here. So, I would be looking for a bounce in this region regardless, similar to euro dollar doing the same thing. We've been speaking about this for like the last couple of months, and now it's, pretty much within that region. I don't have a strong opinion though, if it actually does reach this level first, if it reaches this level or not. It could very well have put in the low. I mean, we're talking about a difference here. of a quarter. It already did get down to 91 and 3/4, and I was saying at 91 and a half right here. Actually, a little bit below there, like 91.37. But these are minute here. These are very, 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 very minute. Regardless of that fact, I do think that we are very, 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 very close to a big bounce on this asset, and I'm talking like a big bounce, probably all the way back up to like 96 or 90. What is this? 95 and 3/4 to 96 and a quarter. And why this is relevant is that you'll probably notice that pretty much everything in the world right now is rallying versus the US dollar. Well, what's been happening for the last, for the last few months, we've been going straight down. Well, if this thing reverses, what do you think Bitcoin's going to do? What do you think pretty much most things in the stock market are going to do? Probably going to reverse and have some pretty massive reversals on top of that. So I do think it's maybe a little bit premature to be calling a major low just yet. We do not see bullish divergence on a weekly right now. I'm sure someone's going to say, oh, wait, that doesn't even count back there because it's not even a lower low anyways. I'm curious what it looks like on a daily though. Let's see. Yeah, we do have bullish divergence on a daily, but we've already got the easy move on that one playing out. So I would say this and understand like the very minute detail here. As long as this one is maintaining this downtrend, which is essentially the 21 exponential moving average, as you can see right there, as long as it's closing dailies below $93, I do look for this one to ultimately hit this target down here towards like 91.3, 91.5, something like that. Yes, so that would imply another move to the downside, and that would imply moves to the upside for most major assets. Assuming that they are, playing with the world markets right now. However, if it were to overtake this level right here on Dixie, I would look for a quick move back up to about almost $94, and very likely that would be the beginnings of this next major bounce, and I'd probably call big reversals on everything else. In fact, I do think that this is just the easier chart to read and is going to drive world markets here on the macro. So I would put a big significance on this, and this could very easily make me a Bitcoin bearer. Especially alongside Bitcoin price action breaking back down below $11,000. So all of these things do matter, and this is probably going to become a big focus of the of the analyses, probably coming into the next like couple of weeks, because we're definitely getting close here, very, very close. The question is, have we already hit it or not? I would argue that probably not yet. Just a slight another move down, and then that would be it. And then we'll probably play out a massive or pretty big bounce, probably all the way back up to like 95 and a half, $96. That would be my initial analysis right there. Okay, so back onto Bitcoin. Bitcoin coming back down to 11,300-ish region, as we spoke about, right in over here. Or actually, let's go to the same chart that we were using. I do think that is probably going to bounce off this level once again. The critical thing is, though, well, what happens if it fails bounce above this level? What happens if we get a 4-hour total closure below 11,250? Okay, so first things first. If I'm using a 4-hour, I'd use 11,250. If that level is broken, I'd look for an extension all the way down here towards 11,000 liquid zone between 10,950 and 11,000. But I do think that this area probably does bounce it. I don't think that it breaks. If it were to break, that's what I'd be saying. If it does not break, then I would be looking for a range to be formed, probably some divergences to be set in, and then I'd look for a rally attempt back up to 11,500 on the daily. If the daily fails to close above 11,500, and let me just make sure that this is the exact level. Or sorry, no. So, whoa. Major off right there. Sorry about that. If the daily fails to close above 11,380, I would also turn bearish as well for a move very likely back down to 11,000. If we close above 11,380, I would look for another attempt back up to 11,550, wherever the 21 is at that time. And if it can actually close above there, I would look for Bitcoin to extend that run back up to 11.7. So all of these levels are starting to get very, 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 very condensed here. This is becoming like, I fear that I'm gonna get misheard like massively on this. So hopefully I am doing this as clear as possible, because I do want to get my thoughts out there in the most pure form as possible. So again, 11,380. Big area for the daily to close. If it does close below, very likely another medium-term move to the downside, $300, $400, very tradable. And to the upside, it doesn't necessarily imply move to the upside. It would imply a range though between 11,350 and 11,550. We'll call it. Above 11,550, I do believe that Bitcoin will essentially it'll probably just float back up to 12,000 with a short pullback at 11.7. Let's go look at probabilities while we're here too. Is it this chart right here? Yeah, it is this chart right here. I already have it set in there. We do see 11,700 having a 26 spot, 36% probability, but that's not the magical area right now. The magical areas, as we just looked at, are 11,550. 11,550. And to the downside, I'm going to use 11,300 because if Bitcoin does close below there, keep in mind daily momentum will turn onto the downside. We'll also be breaking a major level or a 4-hour closure below 11,250. Those would all drive the next sort of medium-term downside to like 10,950 to $11,000 base with potential wicks down to like 10,700, but very likely a bounce off that level again. All right, did I get this right? Yeah, I think I did. Okay, cool. All right, let's see what the probabilities say. Yeah, and as you can see right here, probabilities are on the favor of the downside. 42.5% probability for the down, for Bitcoin to close below 11.3 on the daily, and 37.14% probability to close above 11,550 on the daily as well. But keep in mind, it was actually 1180. 11,380. That was like the magical number. So I'm just curious. Technically higher. It's going to be higher. So the probability to close below 11,380 is about almost 50%. Very, 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 very high. So it is, it is looking like if the bears want to take control right now, they can very easily do that. Looking at volume picks moms as well, all turning down. These are going to have chances to officially cross the downside right here on both the error correcting MA and the regular one right here as well. So things are going to be under pressure. We are testing into the 11,300 area right now, just we spoke about at the beginning of this video. The question is though, do things actually hold up here or not? A 4-hour closure below 11,250 or a daily closure below 11,380? Both of those triggers would make me look for another swipe down somewhere around 11,000, give or take about $50, we'll call it. And well, taking out last week's low would probably imply a continuation overall to 10.7. That can have great implications with closing the daily below 10.9 or 11,000 essentially. And then we can talk about big moves to the downside. Bounces along the way too. 10.5 would be an area of interest. But for right now, pressure is onto the downside. So if Bitcoin bears do want to take this one, this is the time to be doing it. I'm just sitting and watching, man. I got no positions. I am looking to I'm looking to enjoy the destruction. I deliberately took all my positions on my birthday yesterday, or before my birthday, I guess, for this exact not for this exact reason, but more so that I could just enjoy a day, but overall, Bitcoin moving in the early morning hours. Keep an eye on those levels. If Bitcoin does close above 11,550 though, again, I would be looking for another move back up to the medium term time frame range, 11,750, $200 move essentially. Actually, I even have like this a little bit. No, it is exactly where it should be. Yeah, 11,550. Okay, beautiful. All right, so I think that's all I have to say for today. I hope this one serves you well. I'll be back on tomorrow with, oh my God, man, it's 46 minutes in this video. I'll be back on tomorrow with some more analysis. Take care, and until next time.